Hi everyone, my name is Kathleen W, and I am the spouse of an aortic dissection survivor. My husband Shannon dissected on February 5th of 2019, so about 15, 16 months ago, and I did at that time a video for Aortic Hope, talking about what it was like to be the spouse in the short term, right after open heart surgery and recovery and returning home and having two small children. And at that point, obviously, I didn't really know what life was going to look like for us. And since then, life has changed a little bit, mostly in good ways. The first way that life has changed for us is that my husband really has to focus on keeping his blood pressure down. Shocking, which is not necessarily a bad thing, of course. So, we have an 11-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. And for any of you parents out there, as you can imagine, it gets a little tricky when the personalities are on fire, as we like to say around here. So, I end up doing some intervening when there are bickering and there's fighting. My husband wants to chime in, but there are many times when I just say, I've got it from here, I'll handle it. And that's pretty new for us, I would say. We didn't always function that way. We normally functioned as a team, or we'd kind of tag in and tag out. And now I do much of the intervening, but we talk about what they've been up to beforehand and after, so that we can be on the same page with that. So, but that's kind of an interesting turn of events. The other change, obviously, that we've made, or maybe not so obviously, is in the way we eat. So we were never really bad eaters, if you will. But I certainly did not take into consideration any sodium, salt, anything like that. And I would say these days that's the number one thing that I look at when I'm fixing a meal or buying ingredients and looking to put a meal together for everybody. I would also say that my husband is very concerned, but not overly so, about his sodium intake and his sodium levels. So he also is very attentive to his diet and what we need to be doing every day to make sure that we keep his blood pressure down and that his mechanical valve keeps working. The third thing that has changed around here is that my husband is very focused on exercise, but not obsessively so. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not like he's up at 4 a.m, going to the gym. But he does take walks on a regular basis now. He tries to get his heart rate up a little bit every day. And given his job, prior to the one he has now, he wasn't always able to get up and move around during the day. He was a practicing attorney and so therefore was at his desk much of the day. Now he works in a high school, and so during his workday, he is up and moving. He's moving from classroom to classroom. He's going to meetings. He's meeting people. His day is much more active. So that is a very good thing. An additional thing is that we are both dealing with a fair bit of PTSD. I would say that when he leaves the house, I tend to get a little nervous. And if he doesn't check in with me, I panic text and ask him where he is and what he's doing. It's gotten better. It was a little bit crazy in the beginning when I first let him out of the house. But it's getting better. But I think that's pretty normal. We each have our own things to deal with, our own aspects of what happened. One thing that I would share that was sort of an inadvertent situation with us in recovery is once he came home from the hospital and we had a friend visiting. He had been home maybe a couple weeks, and she asked for my story, what had happened from my perspective. And I shared that with her in front of my husband, and he had never heard it. He never asked, which is fine. Like, I didn't expect him to ask, but he had never heard the story. And I told my friend, from basically like getting the phone call when he got sick to up until that point, which had probably been about a month, I gave her all the information. I gave her all the details. I gave her the timeline of events, what was happening, who I was with, and all those details. And my husband had never heard any of that. So I think inadvertently I shared that story with him, and it actually ended up being a really, really important part of our healing process, so that when I do go a little crazy with PTSD, he can understand why. So that's our life in probably the past 15 months or so. And I just wanted to share a piece of that with you all so that you understand there is life after dissection, and it can be really good. Bye.